I'm Michael Frank Writer, and today I'll be going over my, build rules, believe it or not. Yeah, the rules are pretty, this is going to be covering basically the rules for most of my ship builds for 2023. And these are basically budget builds. The older rules were quite confusing, and I'm going to make this video, and it's going to cover every build until later on. And because of changes to the game within 2023, I've decided to update to cover these new changes. Because these rules, in 2023 they introduced the advanced console, which also apply to the spy tactical consoles, which will change how some of the builds will work. Because due to how expensive they are to obtain at the moment, we're going to be considering them for later day builds. We'll explain that in more details later. So, let me cover the basic rules. Since this is a budget build, no C-Store purchase required, barring the cost to obtain the ship. This is really to apply if you buy a single C-Store ship within the system. That would be counted as just getting the ship. You can only get as lockbox and lobby items require lockbox key to obtain. They will be excluded from the budget build stuff as they require a C-Store purchase somewhere. Most of my builds are built on a Day X system, and the Day X is based on the approximate age for an active player with a single level 65 character. So that's day 1 since level 65, day 30 since level 65. Common drops are basically anything that can be used and crafted by anyone and at almost any level, and you have a chance to see it drop it anywhere and randomly in most content. At least most space content or ground content for which various builds you're using. I'm using space builds, so I'm usually in space when you're in space. When I do multiple Day X videos in the build, Day X builds in the video, they're usually built into a line of progression. Most of the time I'm making these builds, it's to allow day 90 part to you can apply day 90 parts, which usually day 90 is usually the last thing on the day 1 or day 0 build if available. Items that are not common drops or repeatable mission rewards are usually considered expensive and usually are not replaced on later builds in a series. 90% of the time, item rank, mod, and rarity does not have to match what I show unless I explicitly say. In some cases they do have to match. This is more of a guide for new players, not the ideal means to get damage and tanking and various other stuff or in control. But this is so keep that in mind. Okay, load time, no limited time event items are counted. So this means that an event within the middle of 2022 can't be used in the middle of 2023. Event item for a shield or a warp car, you can't use them. Whilst I can use them on my fly them, but yeah, the items that I've usually considered are usually it can be obtained during the same event that the ship can be obtained and used. So for some builds, usually for the T5 to T5Us and any C-Store to fleet upgrades or replacements, I'll note which additional equipment slots will be noted, and I will often put an item mark it, and I'll also note what to put in its place if you wish to use it. I will also recommend a console for the use of the universal slot within a tier 5X or tier 6X build, but these are expensive because you have to buy a token for it, or get a token from a limited time event. Occasionally I will break or bend a rule on within a day X limits, but that's usually within a good reason, and I will explain why I broke the rule when I've done it. I have done it before, and I will. So this is the reason why I've kept this in for number 12. Right. Day 1 builds. Day 1 builds are really for someone who's just hit level 65 and want to follow the ship right now. Some mission wars are going to be considered as all items will be found as drops or crafted. Most items will be available on exchange for a lower price. I am treating this as you've got not much of anything, and you need to get the ship flying now. Bridge officer powers are going to be limited to rank 1 or 2 due to the fact you can only get those easily obtainable from a vendor, and no specialization cost. Those specialization powers are going to be available for cost reasons because they do cost a bit. If certain prohibited items, which basically rank 3 powers or certain other stuff, are known to be available for a certain character on a build, they can be used. I applied this to the Jebediah build a few years ago. That's all because he could obtain it. Let's move on to day 40 or day 20. These are basically event ship builds on the day event ship builds, and this is basically for the event ship, but built with some allowances for you to obtain stuff whilst getting the ship. These are basically same as day 1 builds, but with some effective changes. Usually you can get hold of all the mission rewards by this time, and event items may be considered if the item that item is available during the same event. Day 30 builds. Now, any equipment from previous stuff is going to be allowed, and it should always be the same thing. Day 30 is roughly when the time when players are going to progress a reputation to tier 5. Tier 5 of reputation will unlock most items within a reputation, with the alt flavors being alternative flavors for, which basically if you want to have a certain type of weapon in this disruptor flavor and it's not available until you get to tier 6, that's the type of thing you want to note about. Competitive here is going to be somewhat delayed due to the fact that it's quite difficult getting a match started, and as a new player you may have trouble completing a random TFO, but there are ways to get to rank tier 5 on day 30 as well as competitive, but I usually treat it as starting on day 30 for these builds. As of course, all mission rewards are available. Moving on to day 60. Of course, any equipment that you can equip in for day 30 builds can be used. This is the point where this day is the date where you can earn will reach tier 6 in most reputations. Tier 5, and I'll make note that tier 5 for competitive for late due to the later start. I've decided to now include loud rank 3 bridge officer skills are now available only certain number of certain skills will be ignored from here on out. For example, Kima Sight will, for tactical bridge officers, will be ignored because of the cut where you can get how to get hold of one. There's only really one, and I'm trying to limit myself to specialization bridge officers, out to only one bridge officer specialization. Sorry, one specialization bridge officer outside of mission reward bridge officers. This basically means that whilst most ships have two specialization sheets, I can only turn one of the original bridge officers you have as to a different specialization. Everyone else has to use everything else must come from a mission reward for this particular for day 60. Day 90, of course, any equipment from day 60, of course, can be used, and anything else like that. All of protection can be used. I'm going to now include the fleet gear can be used. This basically means that you can now, if you have, this basically starts. You've probably got now enough stuff to get hold of the more expensive fleet gear. This is due to the fact that you can it may take a while to earn fleet gear at this point of the game as well. So I've tried to include advanced and rank 15 and gear that can be considered to be used. These are both very expensive at this moment in time, and purely, and you may not at day 90 you may still not have the ability to craft your own rank 15 the rank 15 gear from the R&D specialization. And I'm basically looking at removing the limits on specialization bridge officers if I was to use them. And towards the end, I'll actually do some paid considerations. These are going to be a quick notes at the end saying what items if I had access to the C-Store or previous event rewards that I might consider using, but don't, because they're not. Because I'll pick C-Store, and basically C-Store event items usually get a look in because of their gear. These items will often be considered useful for the build, and I won't actually integrate them to a build because, well, copy and pasting everything I do may not be the best solution to everything. And most of the time I'll highlight the highlighted paid items are usually are built to are chosen to create the effectiveness of some of the core ideas around the build. I'll just boost some of the stuff that the builds is around already. But anyway, this has been Mike Sharp Writer. See you guys next time.